Hello to everybody. It is July the 8th, 2020. Driving home with me again. And first of all, I'll say we have a new member of the family. Uncle Joel's son, Andrew, and his wife, Nicole, had a baby today. And I have to tell you the truth, they sent me the name in an email, and it was an unusual name. And so I'm not going to say what it was. I'm sorry, I should have done better research before I started recording. But I will say that it occurs to me now that Momo, my mother, Momo Janet, is now a great grandmother, and my brother is a grandfather. And I guess thanks to Gussie and Verona that I am a grandfather also. And so I appreciate that too. That's really nice. But it goes back, girls, to what I was saying the other day, and that is that life does go by very quickly. And you go from being a kid to being a grandparent in what sometimes seems forever, and other times seems like the blink of an eye. So I will talk a little bit about the Walker side of the family today. Now, my grandmother and grandfather, their names were Guthrie and Jane Walker. Interesting thing about both of them is that my grandfather, that everyone went by Guthrie, his first name was actually Perry, just like Grandpa or Papa Doug goes by his middle name, but Guthrie's, so his name was Perry Guthrie Walker. And my grandmother, my father's mother, her name was Leela Jane Walker, and she went by Jane. Even though I personally think that Leela, and especially the combination Leela Jane, is a beautiful name. Now, both Leela Jane and Guthrie are dead now. Guthrie died, I want to say, 10 or 12 years ago. And Leela Jane actually died about a year and a half ago. An interesting fact about that Jenny pointed out, and that is that December the 7th is the day that she was born. December the 7th is the day that Cindy and I, or Nanny Cindy and I, got married. And December the 7th is the day that Leela Jane Walker passed away. So now on December the 7th, as a family, we've had a birth, a death, and a marriage. So that is kind of interesting. So all right, so Leela Jane and Guthrie got married. Leela Jane was very young. She was only 13 when they got married, and I think Guthrie was in his early 20s. But they had their first son's name was Ray, but again, his name was Thomas Ray, and he went by Ray. And then a couple years later, they had Perry Douglas, who is y'all's Papa Doug, and my father. And then maybe 7 or 8 years later, they had another child named Gerald, which is how one pronounces it when one is from Alabama, but y'all would pronounce it as Gerald, Gerald. So I told you about Mama's and her 3 sisters yesterday, so I won't go into that again. But in 1960, Mama Janet and Papa Doug got married right after Papa Doug joined the Navy. Mama was also very young. She was 15, and Papa had just turned 18, I believe. And anyway, so they got married, and about a year later, they had Uncle Joel Dwayne Walker, who was their oldest son, and then they had me, Richard Eric Walker, their youngest son. Joel was born in August 1961, and I was born in June of 1963. You should have Mama Janet tell you some stories, but one or two that come to mind. So keep in mind that Mama Janet was just basically a child when they got married, and she rode a train by herself from Alabama to Chicago, and again, just a child. And then I think that, again, you should ask her to tell these stories. I tried to get her to, but she won't on camera. But that they lived in an apartment, I think, above a bar or a dry cleaners or something like that in Chicago. And it was, so Mama had Uncle Joel, and they lived in the downtown part of Chicago, and Papa was in the Navy, and I know because he was in the Navy that he was gone on a fairly regular basis. And I just think it must have been difficult on Mama being so young, first time she'd ever been away from home, and having a new baby as well. Even though I'm sure Uncle Joel was perfectly behaved and never cried or gave her a hard time. I'm sure he slept really well and all those things like that. But still, Mama was just, I mean, think about this, Gussie and Verona, that Mama, Janet, was younger than what Sierra, Uncle Joel's daughter, is. I mean, 2 years younger than Sierra. So anyway, I mean, it's just quite a story. So when y'all go visit them, or if you see them, ask her to tell some of those stories about when they were first married. Okay, well, I guess. Oh, I can tell you about cousins. I'm sorry, I'll do this so that it's consistent on both sides of the family. So Thomas Ray, my uncle, married Elaine, and she was from Michigan, because it was really funny because everybody had a southern accent except her because she was from Michigan. And they had 2 children, Michael and Christy, my cousins. Then my uncle Gerald first married a lady named Jan. They had a son named Tony. Tony is younger than me, but not much. I mean, 4, 5, 6 years, but not much. Then Gerald and Jan got a divorce, and then Gerald married a lady named Beverly. They had 4 kids, 2 of whom were twins. Their names were Perry and Leslie. Oh, there you go. A Perry who actually used Perry as the name. And then they had Alex and... no, I guess there were just 3. I'm sorry. Yeah, pardon me. It was Alex was the oldest, and then Perry and Leslie were the twins. Of course, they're all grown up now and have lives of their own and everything. And again, we really haven't kept in touch. So those are the cousins on that side of the family. So next time, if I remember where I'm at in my story here, I will tell you about my grandmother and grandfather Walker, who we called Jane and Big Daddy. And I'll just tell you a little bit about them next time, as I know this is dragging on a little bit. So, okay, all right, love you all. See you soon.